first things you get introduced to in that campus is Git. In fact, before you join us, we ask you to create a GitHub account and start using Git or GitHub. So Git and GitHub are not the same, right? So Git is a distributed version control system. And now there's a new word there. It's not so new because at this stage you're already familiar with what version control is. But in simple terms, version control is just, a way of keeping track of changes, right? So in the past, when there was no Git and when people had different ways of doing version control, so when you work on something and you need to make a change to it, you save a copy of that, and say you're working on a Word document, for instance. So you save a copy of that Word document, name it version 1, and then you duplicate it and start working on the other one and make it version 2. And then if you have a friend that you need to do some work for you, you copy a version again and give to that friend of yours, maybe in a floppy disk or in a CD-ROM, or more recently in a flash drive. And then your friend starts working on it, and your friend's copy is called version 3, maybe with the friend's name on it. And then when you're both done, you start manually transferring the contents that you've created in those Word documents into a central document. Maybe you call that one main document, right? So all those other different branches that you've created of the same work. And now Git developed, the person that developed Git is Linux Torvald. He's also the person that developed the Linux operating system. So he developed Git to solve this problem. And Git enables people to work in a distributed manner, and also, people from different places with Git, they can now collaborate seamlessly. So instead of having, different copies of the same project that you're working on in different places, so it's all in one place, but in a how will I put it now? In something called branches. So in the same Git project, you have different branches. So they are called Git branches. So in those Git branches, you can call it version 1, and then you have another one called version 2. And then when you make a change to the version that you're working on, you do something called commit. So when you're done making your change, you check the changes that you've made, and then you accept them, and then you commit them. So once you've committed them, you save them within the Git branch that you're working on. Your friend could be working on another Git branch called version 2, and then when both of you are done, you create something called pull request. And now in that pull request, your friend could easily see the changes you made compared to the original changes that was in your main project. So your friend could easily go through it, review the changes, and then accept them if they like them. And if they don't, they could reject them or leave comments for you. And when you're both done resolving comments and doing all the back and forth, you can then merge it to the main work. Easy. So that's essentially how Git works. GitHub is a web-based platform where they started out hosting Git, and then they built an entire ecosystem around Git. So GitHub introduced things like issues and milestones, GitHub project, even an aspect of pull request. So, and a lot of other things that they introduced around Git. So GitHub is not the only platform that hosts Git. So you also have GitLab. It works similar to GitHub. You also have a platform called Bitbucket. Okay, so all these are platforms that actually host Git. They work on Git. And also Git is not the only version control system. There are other version control systems like SVN. In fact, your Google Doc, if you're familiar with Google Doc, uses its own kind of version control system. So if you're working on Google Doc with a couple of other people, you can go back in history to actually see the changes that the people you're working with has made on the project, on the file. And some of these platforms, some of these big companies like Microsoft and Google and the rest of them, they also have their own custom-made version control system that they use in-house. I'll go over to just using some repositories, good repositories, to explain further. Okay, it won't be this one. Let me use Python. So we all know that Python is an open source project. So what it means is that you can actually go and contribute to Python, but this is C Python, right? And you can see here that people have made over 122,000 commits, to this project, C Python. So C Python is a version of Python. I think that kind of mirrors C programming language. Let me check it. So it has an interpreter and a compiler, right? So normal Python is interpreted, but C Python has a compiler. Okay, hope I got that right. All right, so you can go the way through these commits to the history of this project. You can see all kinds of things that people have had contributed to it. I don't know when the project started. Okay, 2017. Let's go to this date in 2017 to see how the project started. So you can go all the way into the history of the project to see what and who committed whatever. So these are all the codes that was added to it on the first day. I don't think this was the day the project was started. Maybe this was the day they opened it up on GitHub. But that's the commit for you. So that's why I said that it's always important to give your commit a very descriptive message, so that when people look at it, so at first glance, you should be able to tell what this thing is doing. So we know that this guy implemented whatever the hell this is, and then he improved the error message. This is another person improving error message, blah, 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 whatever. So this was all the way back in 2017 when most of us have not even started thinking of writing codes. So that's it about commit messages. So pull requests. Pull requests is when you're done working on your project, when you've created several commits and you want people to bring your project now, your branch, which you've been working on, into the main branch. So let's look at this. This guy has been working on this branch called GH, whatever. And he's trying to put the code inside this main branch called Python main, right? So this is like this. In other projects, you may not have this semicolon. He has this, it's colon, right? Colon, because he forked the repo. There's something called forking in GitHub, where you just get a copy of the repository. Don't worry about it. So, and in this pull request, he made some changes. And these are all the changes he made. So he just added few lines of code, probably doing something interesting. So this is printing something, this is printing another thing, and a comment. Say comment, okay, whatever. So he has made these changes. Now he needs people to take a look at it to pull it in the main code base. Okay, and you can see here people, this is him leaving a comment, and then another person dropping a comment for him. So this is essentially how these people may not have met in their life. In fact, I'm pretty sure they've never met, but they're essentially collaborating. They're looking at each other's code and giving feedback for each other. And then when they're done reviewing it, when they're done giving feedback and everything is good, they go ahead and accept it. These are all the codes that have been merged. And I'm looking for one that has plenty comments to actually show like how you can have several back and forth. So some of these comments are already resolved. Okay, so this one is just dropping some suggestions. So that's essentially what pull requests are about. creating GitHub pages. Now I had to bring back my my old account. It's actually my newest account, but I've not been using it. I had to bring it back for this particular demo. Okay, so I haven't created it, still fresh. I haven't created anything on it yet. So I want to show you how to create your own GitHub page website. Okay, so it's pretty simple. So what you do is, if you want to create your own GitHub page website, firstly the repo must be public, and then the name of the repository must be your username .github. Okay, that must be the name. And if you want, you can add readme. I'll add readme, then you create repository. So hopefully this should have succeeded in creating my own GitHub pages if I've done it correctly. I just need to check. I did not see it deploying, so I'm guessing that it has not worked. Okay, that has not worked. Alright, give me a moment to check their documentation again. Make sure that I'm doing this correctly. Oh, okay, it's deploying. I see why now. It was deploying and it finished 22 seconds ago. So yes, that's it. That's as simple as it gets. So it was deploying to GitHub. In fact, it's still deploying to GitHub pages. I hope it's done now. Let me refresh. So it's done. So if I reload now, I should see something. Okay. So this is my GitHub page website. Now, like the job for those in front end or in web development, or in fact, if you're doing HTML, CSS, you see a project that asks you to add some code to this website. I think you have something like that on data analysis too. So you're supposed to create like a blog using GitHub pages, and then you're supposed to populate all the projects you're working on, especially when you started doing Excel and doing Excel projects. So some of the projects you'll be working on, you're expected to report them on this GitHub page. So I've just shown you how you can create this. So make sure that the name of the repo is like this. So it's going to GitHub knows what to do. So it's going to take it and deploy it automatically. So the next step is to add files to these pages. So you can create new file, or you can upload. I'd encourage you. I would encourage you to do it like this, right? So if you want to do anything, do it from your. I prefer you do it from your VS Code, and then push it the normal way to GitHub. But because for the purpose of this demo, and because I don't want to waste time, let me just do mine like this. So for front end people, I asked you to create Peter's story for those doing HTML. So Peter's story is an interesting story. It's called Peter's Journey to Success. Just a simple HTML project, right? And I'm going to do the final one that has CSS in it. Let me add down to the website. Okay, I think it has everything. So the next step is to commit this. Again, when you're done, you create a new branch. If you're working with other people, create a new branch, and then when you're done, you make a pull request. Because I'm working by myself, I can commit straight to the main branch. So you can see here that we have Peter's story.html here. So again, GitHub Pages is going to pick it up and deploy it to the website. So it's deploying it now, and when it's done, it's going to show up on this website. Let's wait for it to finish. So that's essentially, if you don't understand this, let me know. If you're working on, if you're doing data analysis, so there's a particular template that I created for this. and it's a blog template, so it allows you to actually build a form of a blog that may look similar to this. So that's what that template does. And if you're using that, it's going to, so the content you're going to have here will not just be all of this. It will be a bit more, and the way you add contents to the GitHub page is a bit different from how I'm adding it now, but the principle is the same. So it's already added, so I'm going to go over here. Here we go. A working website. This is it. This is it really. Anything I'm doing now, anything else I'm doing now is just bonus for you. This is it. I'm done. When you're creating a Git branch, make sure that you give it like a nice name, a name that people can understand. And also, when you're writing a commit message, it's best practice to give your commit message a very descriptive name. It should not be lengthy, but make sure that the name it describes the work you've done on the commit, the work you're trying to commit. Okay, so always keep it in mind. It's a taboo. It's a taboo in software engineering and in coding in general to push directly to the main branch when you're working with other people. So when you're working on your personal project, you could easily push to your main branch because it's just you. But if you're working with other people, you always make sure that you create a separate branch for every work you're going to do. And then when you're done adding your commits, you create a pull request for that project. And then if it's accepted, you merge it and it becomes a part of the main code base. So these things are a bit intimidating because they have lots of technical details, but don't worry about it. Some of them could be pretty simple when you're working on your own projects. As you grow your technical skills, you're going to get a lot more familiar with them.